Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to go over the seeds that we've acquired so far for next year's vegetable garden and flower border, some annual, some perennial that we do from seed. We have just gotten the fall vegetables into the ground. There's a video from a few weeks ago where we showed all of the things we were doing from seed, and then all of the things that were going to be direct seeded. And I have all of those packets over here. There's Swiss chard and lettuce and carrots and beets and kohlrabi and bok choy and lots of different types of lettuce and broccoli and probably some peas, several things I'm missing. And we still have plenty of seed from all of those things. There'll actually be another round of those before the summer things go in next year. So we do a fall vegetable garden, which again, the things that were direct seeded have been up now for a couple of weeks and are looking great. The peas and carrots and beets and those kinds of things, and some collards were direct seeded over there. And then this morning put in the lettuce and broccoli and the things that were done inside. We did some Swiss chard directly in the ground, and we did some Swiss chard in as seed so that we could put them in various containers, and they'll be decorative in containers. Again, these things will be seeded one more time right around the middle of February or so we can do another round of these. These things that are going in the ground now will last up through December here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And you know, once the really real cold sets in, they'll be finished off. But again, we just come right back. So all we do in between each round of vegetables out there is we apply a little more compost to the top. And every time you plant one of those plugs in the ground or seed in the ground or whatever, it gets mixed in. That was tilled one time a little over 2 years ago to get some compost down in it's clay-based soil over here. Since then, it's just been top dressed repeatedly between crops. But again, we have all of these seed. Again, their seed packets are pretty much always more than you need, except for some of these hybrids, which are, they only give you 10 or 15 seeds. But most of these things, you get more seed than you need. So we have 2 rounds on those. In terms of where we're equal opportunity seed acquirers. So we have a lot of stuff from Park Seed this year. We have a lot of stuff from Baker Creek. We did not order as much from Johnny's. The shipping tends to be a little high, and if I'm only ordering a few packs of something, it's hard to honestly. I hate that. I hate to hard to justify, because the seeds are fantastic from them. And again, lots and lots of places that we'll acquire seed from, and that includes a garden center we're walking through, or a Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever it is, if there's something that we see that we want. And then we collect things out here in the garden as well. So a lot of that will be going on over the next few weeks. As I'm shooting this toward mid-September here, it's about that time to start looking around the garden and seeing some of the spent flowers and collecting those seed. So we'll collect our, again, dahlias, okra, ageratum. We can do any of our perennial echinaceas, and there's a ton of stuff out here that we can actually collect the seed on and store it through the winter time, and most of it doesn't. Some things you'll want to look up, if you're collecting seed on individual basis. Some things need a cold treatment, meaning they need to go into a refrigerator or something for a few weeks. Other things can just be picked and immediately seeded. And so, that's the difference there. But you might want to look on an individual basis, look up and see how people do that. So jumping right into the seeds that we've acquired for next year's summer crops. And so again, if you go back and watch that video, you can see all the things that have been planted today into our fall cool season vegetable. And again, we have more of those seeds, lots and lots and lots more of those seeds to do this again. And you'll see those videos. So there'll be a second round of cool season vegetables, and then the things I'm about to show you will be seeded in March or April. One point I'd like to make is the reason I'm sitting here in September, and I already have we'll actually acquire a few more things, but lots of our summer flowers and vegetable seed for next year. There has been a shortage for the last couple of years, and so you might want to get on acquiring them and storing them through the winter. One other quick note on the Bronze Torch tomatoes: it is actually one tomato of the year. So those of you who've been following the channel and me saying that Bronze Torch is the best, I think we all purchased this thing to the point that it won tomato of the year last year, and deservedly so. It's just a fantastic tomato. Again, the way to go about figuring on when you start a seed. So I have a light rack in the house. There's a video on the channel for how I built this light rack 5 or 6 years ago. It's not inexpensive to build the light rack, but if you consider this pack of seeds right here is $4, and the number of seeds that are in this pack of peppers, how many individual plants that would be if I was purchasing the plants at a garden center. If you start to do the math on this, you know, once you've had your lights, your LEDs or whatever type of grow lights you have, once you've had them for a couple of years, you will have paid them back. And over the course of 5 years, I've probably paid myself back many times over, not buying finished plants or starter plants from other places. So again, the way we go about determining when we put a certain seed in is on the back of the most seed packets. It will tell you from transplant, from seed to transplantable size, might be 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. We don't put our summer things in the ground here until at least after mid-April. That's about our average last frost date. So sometime between mid-April and the 1st of May is when I'd want to put the individual plant, into the ground. And so if it says from seed to transplant in 8 weeks, I would just back up 8 weeks from April 15th, and that's the day I would start the seed. A lot of folks start seed way too early. You get so excited in January because you're bored and start seed then. And then by the time you're putting them in the ground in the middle of April or beginning of May, depending on where you live, they can be stretched out and just, overdone, have a hard time recovering from that. So I'd like to get them finished and ready to transplant the exact day that I can transplant them into the ground. So that's just how I organize the seeds. Things that are 4 weeks from seed to transplant go in one pile. The 6 week things, the 8 week things go in other piles. The 8 week things I'll start in February 15th. The 4 week things I'm starting March 15th. I hope that makes sense. And so that's how our seeds get organized, so that that's where they go in the order in which we're going to start them in the house. Some things can be direct seeded. Lots of things can be direct seeded. We'll direct seed our cucumbers. We'll direct seed our beans. We'll direct seed. You can direct seed squash and zucchini. Super easy. If you want to start them in the house and get a jump start on them, that's fine. But a lot of those things can be direct seeded. But I find things like Xsenias, which I could direct seed into the ground. Because we have squirrels, because we have chipmunks, because we have rabbits, because we have a lot of things, pests going on here. I find that starting them in the house, getting them to a, up a couple inches and a sturdy transplant going into the ground, we get a much better performance out of them. So that's why and that's kind of how we pick and choose what gets direct seeded, versus what goes inside. If it's a small, teeny tiny seed, most of the time that's going to get started inside. Plus, if you get a heavy rain, it can move some of those seeds around in the garden. And I actually want the Xsenia right where I want the Xsenia. And so having a plant, I can put it right in that spot. Okay, so we have a ton. The way we go about picking peppers, so I have, I have 4 different peppers that we're doing next year. And the way Steph and I have kind of worked through this now is we have California Wonder bell peppers. This one's been around for a long time. It's always reliable in the garden, and it kind of guarantees us we're going to get some bell peppers. Then I like to have jalapeños. Most of the jalapeños are pretty reliable. Here's one we got from Baker Creek. Most of those are pretty reliable. And then from there, we'll pick a couple old standby, reliable varieties, and then branch out from there. So we've got, a pepper called candy cane candy cane red hybrid, which is almost a decorative pepper. We've never grown it before, so it's experimental for us on how it's going to perform in the garden, but that's what we do. We've guaranteed ourselves some peppers by buying some old standbys, and then you know, I've got another one called Dragonfly hybrid, so that came from Park Seed. So again, a couple new ones to us, but you know, as a backup plan, you know, we went with something that's, you know, true, you know, that we know is going to be reliable. There's some Mexican sour gherkins that we've done. We've got a couple different cucumbers, and again, one old standby, one new interesting one to try. We've got the Chinese string eggplants from Baker Creek. These are supposed to be really fantastic. I'm not a giant eggplant fan, but apparently these are pretty easy to grow and reliable. And so we have squash, basil, parsley. We do parsley for us for cooking, and we also have parsley out here in the garden for the pollinators as well. And then again, beans, squash, cucumbers. Those are going to be direct seeded into the ground. And so I love green beans and try to grow as many green beans as I can, and we can grow them. We'll have a climbing bean, and we have that chain link fence over there that those can grow on. Tomatoes, exact same thing, where we have Park's Whopper, been around forever, pretty reliable tomato for you to use. And then we have Bronze Torch, which is absolutely our absolute favorite tomato, and unfortunately they're not inexpensive. This is usually like 10 seeds in one of these packets, and by the time I buy 2 packets, this is not inexpensive, but I will say that they are without a doubt our favorite tomato. It's a kind of a mid-size oblong sized tomato, slightly smaller than Aroma. It's incredibly juicy, incredibly flavorful, really great tomato. And then from there, again, we've got one called Braveheart. We've got a yellow pear tomato. We've got a few that we haven't grown before. And that's how we're deciding this. Making sure that we're going to get something, and then experimenting for the fun of it from there. So that's the vegetables. That's how we go about picking what vegetables we're going to grow. We grow a ton of zinnias in this garden, as you guys have seen. A lot of the profusion zinnias and a lot of the Sahara series of zinnias. They're all super compact. That double raspberry ripple. Here are the seeds for that one. That's probably been my most popular Instagram post this year, and a photo that I have repeatedly used for the thumbnail on my videos is those double raspberry ripple Sahara zinnias. So if you can get your hands on these, just beautiful. Early in the season, they tend to be pinker. We've noticed as the season has gone on, there's more and more white showing up in them. So kind of interesting that they've evolved during the late summer. But lots of profusions. You can't go wrong with any of the profusion or Sahara zinnias. Again, they're super compact. Then we'll grow some giant zinnias as well. And last year, I think we got most of those varieties from Baker Creek, right? The lime series. Most of that, and those have performed well out in the garden. They've actually lasted longer this year than they have in the past. Our humidity is usually can be a problem on those. Of course, we have the Summer Jewels Salvia, which is probably the pollinators. I would say the African basil that's out front, which we actually can't do from seed. It's a hybrid, and the seed is sterile, so we have to buy a plant on that every year. Or right now, we could root a cutting and save it for next year. It's the #1 pollinator plant in the garden. I would say second are the Celosias, but we really don't have to probably start any Celosia seed. They come up everywhere, and we'll be pulling Celosia next year. But that's probably #2 for the bees, and then #3 is the Summer Jewels series of Salvia. And there's a dark pink one, and a light pink one, and a white one, almost reddish one. They're all absolutely fantastic. And the other thing I see on the Summer Jewels series of Salvias, I don't just see the bees on them. I see all kinds of interesting little wasp, and there's just a buzz of flying things around these all the time. And so it's just one of the favorites, and it's easy to do from seed. The first year we had them, we bought them somewhere, and then last year we bought some, and we did them from seed because we were nervous that the seed wouldn't be easy, and we wanted to make sure we still had them. This year, because they were so easy from seed. That's another thing we'll do. is sometimes we will, if we're experimenting with something that we've never tried from seed, we will have a backup plan and go buy a few that first year, just kind of out of nervousness almost. But once we've established that we can grow it readily from seed, which we can most things, then we just do them from seed, and we don't have to spend that money anymore. We have some passion flowers, which are native, and they'll go on, you know, somewhere along this chain link fence out here. Some of the seed now will be coated in a, I think it's a clay that they're coating the seed in. If you do have any of the coated seed, make sure you just put the seed directly on top of the soil. They're not supposed to be buried. That clay coating around the seed acts as, you know, basically the seed being covered. It keeps moisture on the seed. You know, that's one thing to know, is if you have any of those treated seed. What else we have here? We have Ageratum. These are the teeny tiniest seed you've ever seen. That blue, what's the blue one we have in the front?
Blue Horizon.
Blue Horizon we've used for a couple years now. Great plant. We have a lighter colored one here called Leda, you think?
Yeah.
And this one's supposed to be super compact. Here, what I find is most things here in the South, I can add about 50% to the height. This one says 12 inches, so I'm guessing it'll get about 18 here, which is still more compact than probably any other Ageratum. And then we've got one called Red Flint. Excited about those. We are doing some toothache plants from seed this year. Neat little yellow little buttons, basically, that show up. And these will self-seed as well, we have found. The ones we had from a couple years ago, there's a couple that have come up. And then, again, we're doing some of our perennials from seed, too. We have an agastache called Raspberry Daiquiri that will do some of our perennials from seed as well. Of course, this 0.19 acre lot, we're kind of running out of space for you know, we're tight on space now, and so we're not doing as many perennials next year. And we planted, I don't know if you go back and look at our sun and shade perennial planting videos from the spring, we planted maybe 100+ pieces out here that we expect to have most of back next year, and they'll be bigger, better, fuller. So I don't know that we have a lot of room for perennials. The annuals that we're starting from seed are just to plug in little bare spots where things still haven't grown together, as you have seen. But that's it. That's the decision-making process on our vegetables. You know, having something that's old and reliable, and then experiment, have fun, buy one that's got a neat coloration, or, you know, something that you're drawn to. And then, you know, for the annual seeds that we're using, these are ones that we've tried, and then we'll experiment a bit. We'll branch out each year and add a few more. But the Xsenias are, especially the compact Zaharas and Profusions, super easy. And then we've got our things that get direct seeded. And again, before we ever get started on those summer things, we'll have another round of cool season vegetables that are going in as well. Equal opportunity seed purchasers here. Thank you guys for following along with the channel, and you can stick around and follow the progress of our fall vegetable garden, and then we're going to show you how we start all of these individual seeds. Another round of cool season seeds in, let's say, February, and then the warm season summer things will start going in the middle of March. So follow along. Thanks for watching.